Before the events of A New Hope, the galaxy had already undergone a seismic transformation. For thousands of years, the Galactic Republic stood as the central government of the galaxy, maintained by a Senate representing thousands of star systems and protected by the noble Jedi Order. But by the time the original trilogy begins, all of that has been swept away, replaced by the iron grip of the Galactic Empire. What happened in those 2 intervening decades was nothing less than the systematic dismantling of democracy and the calculated rise of tyranny. The Clone Wars, a conflict between the Republic and the breakaway Confederacy of Independent Systems, served as the perfect backdrop for political manipulation. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, who had been granted emergency powers during the war, used the chaos to concentrate authority under himself. He claimed to be working for peace, promising to save the galaxy from endless war. But in reality, he was orchestrating the conflict from both sides. As Darth Sidious, he secretly controlled the Separatists through his apprentice Count Dooku, ensuring that the war dragged on and forced the Republic into increasingly authoritarian decisions. Near the end of the Clone Wars, Palpatine revealed his true identity and enacted Order 66, commanding the Republic's clone troopers to turn on their Jedi generals. In a matter of hours, nearly the entire Jedi Order was wiped out. The ancient defenders of peace and justice were branded traitors and executed, leaving only a few survivors scattered and in hiding. With the Jedi gone and no one left to oppose him, Palpatine declared the Republic dead and proclaimed himself Emperor of a new Galactic Empire. This sudden shift was not met with widespread resistance. Many citizens, weary from years of war, welcomed the change if it promised peace and stability. Imperial propaganda painted Palpatine as a savior who had saved the galaxy from Jedi treason and separatist terrorism. Star systems that once enjoyed autonomy were now subject to Imperial rule, their freedoms replaced by military occupation, surveillance, and fear. The Imperial Senate remained in place for a time, but it was little more than a puppet institution. Regional governors, known as Moffs, were appointed to enforce Imperial law, and power shifted entirely to Coruscant and the Emperor's inner circle. Any sign of dissent was swiftly crushed. Worlds that resisted Imperial authority faced blockades, bombardments, or outright destruction. Political opponents vanished. Cultural institutions were sanitized or erased. Even history itself was rewritten to suit the Empire's narrative. At the center of this new regime stood 2 terrifying symbols of Imperial might: Darth Vader and the Death Star. Vader, once a Jedi Knight named Anakin Skywalker, became the Emperor's ruthless enforcer. Clad in black armor and wielding the ancient power of the Force, he was feared across the galaxy as an unstoppable agent of Imperial will. His presence alone was often enough to silence resistance. Few outside the Empire's inner circle knew his true identity, or the tragedy that led to his fall. To the public, he was a mystery, a monster, a myth, and a warning. The Death Star, meanwhile, was more than a technological marvel. It was a message. A space station the size of a moon, equipped with a superlaser capable of destroying entire planets. The Death Star was designed to eliminate the need for traditional warfare. There would be no negotiations, no uprisings, and no mercy. The fear of annihilation would keep star systems in line. Though rumors of its construction circulated in secret, few believed such a weapon could be real until it was too late. Yet even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, resistance began to grow. Small cells of insurgents, scattered across dozens of systems, began to organize. They shared intelligence, weapons, and a single burning hope that the Empire could be challenged. These scattered rebels coalesced into a formal alliance, the Rebel Alliance, driven by ex-Imperial senators, idealistic leaders, and survivors of the Jedi Purge. Monday, Mothma, Bail Organa, and other figures quietly directed resources to build a movement that could strike back. Their first major goal was clear: expose the Empire's lies and prove the Death Star was not just a myth, but a monstrous reality. This is the world in which A New Hope begins. The Empire is at the height of its power, having crushed nearly all opposition. The Jedi are gone, reduced to legend. The people of the galaxy live under a blanket of fear and silence. The Senate has been dissolved, and regional governors now rule through terror. But into this world, hope flickers once again. Rebel spies have stolen the Death Star plans. Princess Leia Organa, daughter of Bail Organa and a key figure in the rebellion, flees from Imperial forces with critical information hidden inside a simple astromech droid. This single act of defiance sets off a chain reaction that will shake the foundations of the Empire itself. Though the original trilogy does not focus on the fall of the Republic or the rise of the Empire in great detail, these events form the essential backdrop for everything that follows. The galaxy has already been lost when the story begins. What we witness over the course of the trilogy is not just a battle between rebels and stormtroopers, it's the long, slow return of freedom to a galaxy that has suffered under the weight of authoritarianism for far too long. The destruction of Alderaan, the enslavement of entire species, the erasure of culture, and the crushing of political resistance are not distant atrocities. They are the reality of life under the Empire. The story of the original trilogy truly begins in the opening moments of Episode 4, A New Hope. The galaxy is on edge. The Empire has tightened its grip, the Senate has just been dissolved, and unrest is growing. But beneath the Empire's towering dominance, the rebellion has achieved something remarkable. A team of rebel spies has stolen the schematics of the Death Star, proof that the Empire has constructed a weapon capable of annihilating entire planets. These stolen plans are more than blueprints. They are a symbol of hope. If the rebellion can locate a weakness in the Death Star, they might strike a blow powerful enough to rally the galaxy against the Emperor. But first, the plans must be delivered to the rebel leadership, an already dangerous mission made far more perilous when Imperial forces become aware of the theft. The film opens with Princess Leia Organa's ship, the Tantive 4, being pursued by an Imperial Star Destroyer over the desert planet of Tatooine. Aboard the ship, Leia hides the plans within a droid R2-D2 and tasks him with finding the one man who might be able to help: Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi thought long extinct. R2, along with his reluctant protocol droid companion C-3PO, escapes to the planet's surface in an escape pod, carrying with him the fate of the galaxy in his databanks. On the ship, Leia is captured by Darth Vader, who immediately suspects her involvement with the rebellion. Despite being a senator, her diplomatic immunity means nothing now that the Imperial Senate has been disbanded. Vader interrogates her, searching for the plans, while the droids begin their journey on the unforgiving sands of Tatooine. Meanwhile, a young moisture farmer named Luke Skywalker is going about his ordinary life with no awareness of his destiny. Living with his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, Luke dreams of leaving the planet and joining the Imperial Academy to escape his mundane existence. Fate intervenes when his uncle purchases R2-D2 and C-3PO from a group of Jawas. When R2 eventually wanders off to find Obi-Wan, Luke follows, unwittingly stepping into the galactic conflict. Luke is attacked by Tusken Raiders but is saved by the mysterious Ben Kenobi, who soon reveals that he is, in fact, Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi Knight who once fought in the Clone Wars. When R2-D2 plays Leia's recorded message asking for help, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope," everything begins to shift. Obi-Wan explains to Luke the truth about the Jedi, the Force, and Luke's own father, who he claims was also a Jedi Knight, betrayed and murdered by Darth Vader. Luke, still naive but intrigued, is given his father's lightsaber, an elegant weapon from a more civilized age. This encounter marks the passing of the torch. Obi-Wan sees in Luke the possibility of redemption for the galaxy and the Jedi Order. But Luke refuses to leave with him at first, reluctant to abandon his home and responsibilities. That changes when he returns to his homestead and finds it destroyed, his aunt and uncle murdered by stormtroopers searching for the droids. With nowhere left to turn, Luke agrees to join Obi-Wan in delivering the droid and the Death Star plans to Alderaan. To get off-world, they travel to the Mos Eisley spaceport, a hive of smugglers, bounty hunters, and outlaws. There they meet Han Solo, a cocky Corellian smuggler, and his Wookiee co-pilot Chewbacca, owners of the Millennium Falcon. Han, motivated by a promised reward, agrees to take them to Alderaan, unaware that he's becoming entangled in something far bigger than he ever expected. Meanwhile, Leia remains imprisoned aboard the Death Star, refusing to reveal the location of the rebel base. To pressure her, Grand Moff Tarkin orders the destruction of Alderaan. Using the Death Star's super laser, the Empire annihilates an entire planet in a show of unthinkable force. Leia watches helplessly as her homeworld and nearly everyone she's ever known is reduced to dust. It's the first true demonstration of the Death Star's power, and a turning point in galactic history. When the Millennium Falcon arrives at the Alderaan system, they find nothing but debris. Soon, they're pulled into the Death Star via tractor beam. With the ship captured and the station on alert, the small group is forced to improvise. Hiding in smuggling compartments, they infiltrate the station disguised as stormtroopers and discover that Princess Leia is being held captive. Against Obi-Wan's wishes, Luke insists on rescuing her. The daring escape that follows becomes one of the original trilogy's most iconic sequences, with the group fleeing through cell blocks, garbage compactors, and blaster fire. It's in this chaos that the group begins to bond. Leia proves herself far more than a damsel in distress, and Han, despite his mercenary outlook, begins to show cracks in his aloof facade. While the others attempt to flee, Obi-Wan confronts Darth Vader in a corridor near the hangar. It's the first time the two former Jedi have seen each other since their fateful duel on Mustafar nearly 2 decades earlier. They ignite their lightsabers and duel once more, not as teacher and student, but as sworn enemies. In this battle, Obi-Wan allows himself to be struck down, becoming one with the Force in front of Luke's eyes. His death, far from ending his influence, only strengthens it, as his voice continues to guide Luke in the moments to come. The escape from the Death Star marks a major victory, but the most crucial part of the mission is still ahead. R2-D2 still carries the Death Star plans, which must now be delivered to the rebel base on Yavin IV. There, rebel analysts begin poring over the data, searching for any weakness that can be exploited before the Empire finishes tracking down the location of the base. The Empire's terrible weapon has been revealed. Alderaan has been destroyed. Obi-Wan Kenobi is gone, but the spark of rebellion is now aflame. Through Leia's courage, Han's unexpected loyalty, and Luke's emerging sense of purpose, the trio has struck a blow against the darkness. The search for the Death Star plans has succeeded, but the real battle is just beginning. Luke Skywalker's introduction in A New Hope is deceptively simple. He's not a warrior, a politician, or a rebel. He's a lonely farm boy, stuck on a desert planet, dreaming of adventure. But beneath his quiet existence lies a deeper connection to the galaxy's broken past and an ancient legacy he doesn't yet understand. Living with his Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen on the remote world of Tatooine, Luke spends his days maintaining moisture evaporators and staring up at the twin suns, longing to escape the limits of his life. He talks of joining the Imperial Academy not out of loyalty to the Empire, but simply as a way off-world. He's impatient, idealistic, and unknowingly burdened by the weight of his bloodline. But everything changes the day his uncle buys 2 droids from a group of scavenging Jawas. One of those droids, R2-D2, carries the stolen Death Star plans and a desperate message from Princess Leia Organa. Luke's initial concern is purely mechanical, getting the droid fixed, avoiding trouble. But then he sees the holographic projection, a hooded figure, pleading for help from someone named Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's the first crack in the wall that separated Luke from the larger galaxy. From this moment, his life begins to shift irreversibly. When R2-D2 escapes in the middle of the night in search of Obi-Wan, Luke follows with C-3PO and soon finds himself ambushed by Tusken Raiders. Just when all seems lost, he's rescued by a mysterious old man in desert robes, Ben Kenobi. This quiet, reclusive figure is known by locals as a hermit, a strange wanderer living in the Jundland wastes. But when Luke mentions the name Obi-Wan Kenobi, the old man reveals the truth. He is Obi-Wan. What follows is one of the most important conversations in the entire trilogy. Inside Obi-Wan's humble home, he begins to unravel a piece of Luke's forgotten legacy. He tells Luke of the Jedi Knights, guardians of peace and justice, who once served the Galactic Republic. He explains the Force, an energy field that connects all living things, binding the galaxy together. It's not just mystical lore, it's a real power that can guide, protect, and destroy. And Luke's father, according to Obi-Wan, was once a great Jedi, a pilot, and a warrior who fought alongside him during the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan tells Luke that his father was betrayed and murdered by a former Jedi named Darth Vader, who turned to the dark side of the Force. In that moment, Luke is handed a lightsaber, his father's weapon. It's old, elegant, and dangerous. As Luke ignites it for the first time, the blade crackling to life in brilliant blue, he's unknowingly beginning the long path toward his own transformation. But despite the mystery and excitement, Luke isn't ready to embrace this new path. When Obi-Wan asks him to come to Alderaan and help the rebellion, Luke refuses. He still feels tied to his family, to the life he's always known. That hesitation doesn't last long. When he returns to his homestead, he finds it in ruins. Stormtroopers have discovered the droid's trail and executed his aunt and uncle. Everything that once grounded Luke is gone, burned, and lost in Imperial fire. With nothing left to hold him back, Luke makes his decision. He will follow Obi-Wan. Their journey leads them to Mos Eisley, a grimy, dangerous spaceport teeming with bounty hunters, criminals, and Imperial patrols. It's Luke's first real encounter with the chaos of the galaxy outside Tatooine. Here, he sees just how dangerous the Empire's reach can be. But it's also where he meets Han Solo and Chewbacca, who offer to transport them aboard the Millennium Falcon. While the focus shifts to the action of their escape from Tatooine and their eventual arrival at the Death Star, the bond between Luke and Obi-Wan continues to deepen. Obi-Wan becomes more than a guide. He is Luke's first mentor. Though their time together is brief, the wisdom Obi-Wan imparts will echo throughout the trilogy. He is patient, cryptic, and purposeful. He doesn't push Luke to become a Jedi overnight. He plants the seeds, speaking of the Force, of destiny, of trust and intuition. Luke, for his part, is still far from the Jedi he will become. He's clumsy with a lightsaber, unsure of his place, and prone to impulsive emotions. But Obi-Wan never doubts him. When Luke trains against a remote on the Falcon, eyes covered, guided only by the Force, Obi-Wan encourages him to reach beyond what he can see. This brief moment is the beginning of Luke's transformation from a farm boy to a Force-sensitive warrior. It's the beginning of a belief system that will define him across the entire trilogy. Obi-Wan also carefully shapes how Luke perceives the past. The story he tells of Anakin Skywalker's death at the hands of Darth Vader is not the full truth, but it's intentional. Obi-Wan chooses to shield Luke from the trauma of his father's fall to darkness, believing that Luke must discover the truth when he is ready. This decision will have deep consequences later, but in this moment, it serves to protect Luke's hope and resolve. The relationship between Luke and Obi-Wan is also symbolic. Obi-Wan represents the last light of the Jedi Order, worn, faded, but still burning. Luke is the future, untested, raw, but full of potential. Obi-Wan's role in this part of the story is not just to act as a teacher, but to prepare Luke for a galaxy where mentors and guides are vanishing. His eventual death aboard the Death Star at the hands of Darth Vader is not just a loss, it is a necessary sacrifice that forces Luke to step forward and begin walking the Jedi path on his own. Luke's journey from Tatooine to the stars is one of the most iconic arcs in cinematic history. He begins as a dreamer, staring at the horizon, unaware of what lies beyond it. But with Obi-Wan's guidance, he takes his first step into a larger world. His old life is gone. The galaxy is broken. And whether he's ready or not, he has become part of the rebellion, a student of the Force, and the last hope for restoring balance. As Luke Skywalker begins his journey off Tatooine, he steps into a part of the galaxy shaped not by Jedi or Sith, but by scoundrels, smugglers, bounty hunters, and outlaws who survive in the shadows of the Empire. The Galactic Civil War isn't just fought in epic space battles or political uprisings. It also plays out in cantinas, back alleys, and hangars. Nowhere is this more evident than in the introduction of Han Solo, Chewbacca, and the Millennium Falcon. Han Solo is unlike anyone Luke has met. He's not a soldier, a rebel, or a Force user. He's a fast-talking, blaster-carrying smuggler with debts, enemies, and a ship that's seen better days. From the moment he enters the story in the Mos Eisley Cantina, Han embodies the gritty, morally gray side of the Star Wars galaxy. He's not concerned with the rebellion or the Force. He's concerned with credits. He agrees to take Luke, Obi-Wan, and the droids to Alderaan not out of belief in their cause, but because he needs money to pay off Jabba the Hutt, a dangerous crime lord on Tatooine. Chewbacca, his co-pilot and closest friend, is a Wookiee from the planet Kashyyyk, known for his towering height, brute strength, and unwavering loyalty. Though Chewbacca never speaks basic, his growls and roars are understood by Han and slowly by the rest of the crew. While Han presents himself as selfish and disinterested in galactic affairs, Chewbacca's quiet presence reveals something deeper. These two may be outlaws, but they have a code. Chewbacca's sense of honor and his loyalty to Han quickly make him one of the trilogy's most beloved characters. Their ship, the Millennium Falcon, is instantly iconic. On the outside, it's a beat-up YT-1300 Corellian freighter. The hull is scarred, the systems are unreliable, and it barely looks like it should fly. But under the hood, the Falcon is one of the fastest ships in the galaxy. It's modified, enhanced, and unpredictable just like its captain. The ship is a perfect metaphor for Han himself. Rough around the edges, dismissed by many, but capable of extraordinary things. When Obi-Wan calls it a piece of junk, Han is quick to defend it. And when Imperial stormtroopers give chase, the Falcon proves its worth by evading a Star Destroyer and jumping to lightspeed. This escape marks the beginning of an uneasy alliance. Han and Luke clash immediately. Han is cynical and pragmatic, while Luke is idealistic and emotional. Han mocks the Force and scoffs at the Jedi, while Luke is still trying to understand his place in it all. Obi-Wan serves as a quiet bridge between them, offering calm wisdom as they travel to Alderaan. But Alderaan, once a peaceful world, is gone. Destroyed by the Death Star, it has become the first victim of the Empire's ultimate weapon. Han is shaken but still doesn't see himself as part of the fight. He's a smuggler in the middle of a war that's not his. That changes when the Falcon is pulled into the Death Star by tractor beam. Trapped aboard the Empire's most dangerous weapon, the unlikely crew must work together to survive. Disguised as stormtroopers, Han and Luke infiltrate the detention block to rescue Princess Leia. Han, despite insisting he's only in it for the money, dives into the mission with blasters blazing. His sarcastic one-liners, reckless decisions, and improvisational style bring levity and unpredictability to the group dynamic. Leia quickly sees through him, recognizing that beneath the swagger is someone more complex. The chemistry between Leia and Han begins here, an energetic clash of personalities that grows into one of the central relationships of the trilogy. Leia is strategic, composed, and fully committed to the cause. Han is impulsive, skeptical, and uninterested in ideals. But through their interactions, it becomes clear that both are capable of growth. Leia challenges Han's selfishness, while Han forces Leia to loosen her grip on formality and protocol. Their dynamic, built on tension and mutual respect, adds heart and humor to the story. As the group escapes the Death Star, the Falcon proves once again that it's more than meets the eye. Han pilots it through waves of TIE fighters, relying on Chewbacca, Luke, and the ship's unpredictable modifications to survive. When they finally return to the rebel base on Yavin IV, Han makes it clear that his involvement ends there. He's done his part. He's got his reward. He's leaving before the Empire returns. But the Falcon, its crew, and its captain have already changed. Whether he admits it or not, Han has begun to care not just about Leia, but about the fight itself. The camaraderie built during the mission aboard the Death Star has shifted his perspective. He's no longer just a smuggler running from his problems. He's a man who's started to realize there are things worth fighting for. The Millennium Falcon is more than just a ship. It becomes a symbol of rebellion, freedom, and loyalty. It's a constant throughout the trilogy, a home for the heroes, a weapon against tyranny, and a reminder that even the most unlikely people can become legends. Han Solo and Chewbacca enter the story as side players, mercenaries with no stake in the war. But by the end of the trilogy, they are integral to the fight against the Empire. Their transformation begins here, in the back alleys of Mos Eisley and the hidden compartments of a smuggler's freighter. The galaxy may be ruled by Sith lords and military machines, but in the end, it's often saved by those who live in its shadows. The journey aboard the Millennium Falcon takes a shocking turn when the crew emerges from hyperspace into a debris field where the planet Alderaan should have been. There is nothing left. A peaceful world, once known for its beauty and culture, has been obliterated. For Luke and Obi-Wan, it's a terrifying introduction to the Empire's true power. For Princess Leia, it's personal. Her home, her family, her people have been wiped out in an instant. And for the galaxy at large, it marks a horrifying new chapter. The Empire is no longer just oppressive, it's genocidal. The destruction of Alderaan is not an act of war. It is a demonstration. Grand Moff Tarkin, commander of the Death Star, orders the attack to prove that resistance is futile. His target is not a military threat, but a symbol of peace and defiance. Leia, having refused to reveal the location of the rebel base, is forced to watch her home planet die. Even as she lies to her captors in a desperate attempt to buy time, the Death Star fires, vaporizing an entire civilization. This act of terror sends a message across the galaxy. The Empire will not tolerate rebellion, and it now possesses a weapon that can destroy entire worlds. The balance of fear has shifted. But within the heart of that same weapon, the seeds of hope remain. Unaware of Leia's capture, the crew of the Millennium Falcon is pulled into the Death Star by a tractor beam. It's a suicide trap, one ship against a space station the size of a moon. But Han, Luke, Obi-Wan, Chewbacca, and the droids work quickly, hiding in the Falcon's smuggling compartments to avoid detection. From the shadows, they begin planning a desperate escape. While Obi-Wan slips away to deactivate the tractor beam, Luke and Han discover that Princess Leia is imprisoned in a detention block. Luke insists they rescue her, framing it as a matter of principle, but also driven by a sense of destiny. Han initially scoffs at the idea he's a smuggler, not a soldier, but agrees once he hears there's a reward involved. What follows is a chaotic, dangerous, and unforgettable infiltration. Disguised as stormtroopers, Han and Luke bluff their way into the detention center, only to be met with suspicion. When the plan begins to unravel, they resort to blasters, destroying the control consoles and engaging in a frantic shootout. Luke finds Leia's cell and opens the door, only to be met with someone very different than he expected. Leia is no passive prisoner. She's not shocked or overjoyed, she's frustrated that the rescue is so disorganized. When stormtroopers arrive in full force, she takes control of the escape herself, blasting open a grate and diving into the garbage chute. The others follow, plunging into the murky, metal-filled waters of the Death Star's trash compactor. Trapped, neck-deep in sludge, the team must work together to avoid being crushed as the walls close in. This moment, filled with both tension and humor, solidifies the bond between the characters. They argue, panic, and improvise, but they survive. Leia proves herself again during the escape, pushing back against Han's arrogance and taking charge when needed. Her leadership is clear. She's not just a political figurehead, she's a strategist, a fighter, and a survivor. Her loss of Alderaan doesn't break her, it steels her. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan successfully disables the tractor beam, but is confronted by Darth Vader before he can return. The two face each other in a long-awaited rematch. This is no longer master and apprentice, it's Jedi versus Sith. Their lightsabers clash in a quiet corridor, while the rest of the group races back to the Falcon. As the duel intensifies, Obi-Wan sees that his time has come. With Luke watching from a distance, Obi-Wan lowers his saber and allows Vader to strike him down. In death, Obi-Wan disappears, becoming one with the Force. His sacrifice is not a defeat, it's a turning point. It spares the others, haunts Vader, and opens a new path for Luke, who begins to hear Obi Wan's voice, in moments of need. The group escapes aboard the Millennium Falcon, barely evading a wave of TIE fighters. Leia immediately suspects they're being tracked, but there's no time to investigate. They must reach the rebel base on Yavin IV and deliver the Death Star plans stored inside R2-D2. The rebellion's survival depends on it. The events aboard the Death Star mark a shift in each character. Luke loses his first mentor, but begins to awaken to the Force. Han, who claimed to care only about himself, risked his life for a cause he pretends not to believe in. Leia, despite unthinkable personal loss, remains composed, focused, and determined. These aren't just heroes in the making, they're the galaxy's last hope. But beneath their victory, danger still looms. The Falcon is being tracked. The Death Star is en route to the rebel base, and the Empire is ready to extinguish the rebellion once and for all. The rescue of the princess was not the end of the mission, it was only the beginning. Alderaan's destruction is a wound that echoes through the rest of the trilogy. It sets the stakes, reveals the Empire's cruelty, and hardens the resolve of those who fight against it. Leia never gets a moment to grieve, but her strength in the aftermath speaks volumes. For Luke and Han, the experience strips away their illusions. This is no simple adventure. This is war. And the enemy is willing to destroy entire worlds to maintain control. But from the wreckage, something powerful is born. A rescued princess, a grieving Jedi, a disillusioned smuggler. Together, they've struck a blow against tyranny. And with the Death Star plans finally in rebel hands, the next chapter of their battle is about to begin. In the cold, dimly lit corridors of the Death Star, two former Jedi finally meet again. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, once master and apprentice, now stand on opposite sides of the Force, separated by decades of betrayal, pain, and loss. Their lightsabers ignite, blue and red clashing with a hiss, signaling not just a duel, but the culmination of a tragic history that began long before the original trilogy. For Vader, this moment is deeply personal. Beneath his armor, he is still Anakin Skywalker, the student who once looked up to Obi-Wan as a brother, only to fall into darkness. The last time they faced each other was on the lava-scorched surface of Mustafar, where Obi-Wan defeated him and left him to die. Now, clad in black, his body twisted by fire in the dark side, Vader seeks closure, not just vengeance, but dominance over a past that still haunts him. Obi-Wan, on the other hand, is calm. His mission has always been about Luke. Everything since the fall of the Jedi, his exile, his watchful years on Tatooine, his return to action has led to this point. He isn't here to win. He's here to buy time, to allow Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca to escape with the stolen Death Star plans, and more than that, he's here to protect the last hope for the galaxy's future. Their duel is not flashy or acrobatic like those in the prequels. It is deliberate, restrained two warriors measuring each other, each knowing exactly what the other is capable of. The physicality is subdued, but the emotional weight is enormous. Every clash of sabers carries years of unspoken pain. As they fight, Obi-Wan senses Luke's presence nearby. He sees the boy watching from across the hangar, unnoticed by Vader. Obi-Wan knows his time has come. With a look of quiet resolution, he lowers his lightsaber and surrenders to the inevitable. Vader strikes him down, and in an instant, Obi-Wan's body vanishes. There is no corpse, no blood. Only his robes remain. To Vader, this is unexpected. In all his years serving the Emperor, he has never seen this kind of death. It rattles him, if only for a moment. Obi-Wan hasn't simply died, he has transcended, becoming one with the Force. Luke is devastated. He screams out, firing wildly at stormtroopers as Han drags him back toward the Millennium Falcon. The loss of Obi-Wan is his first true taste of grief in this new life as a rebel. Just days ago, he was a farm boy dreaming of escape. Now he's seen his mentor fall and realizes that this fight is more dangerous, more real than he ever imagined. But even in death, Obi-Wan is not gone. As the Falcon escapes the Death Star, Luke hears his voice calm and gentle, urging him to run. It's a moment that cements Obi-Wan's continued presence in Luke's journey. His death is not an end, but a transformation. He will guide Luke, not as a physical teacher, but as a voice within the Force. The death of Obi-Wan Kenobi marks a major turning point in the trilogy. With him gone, the old Jedi Order is truly dead. There are no more elders to pass down the ancient traditions. Luke is now alone in this path, armed only with instinct, memories, and the Force itself. His training is incomplete, his emotions raw. But his connection to Obi-Wan and through him to the Jedi remains unbroken. Vader's reaction to Obi-Wan's disappearance is brief but telling. There is no satisfaction. He doesn't revel in the victory. If anything, there's a sense of confusion, of something unfinished. He struck down his former master, but what did it change? Obi-Wan's calm acceptance of death stands in stark contrast to Vader's fear and anger. It's a small moment, but one that plants the seeds of doubt within the Dark Lord. For the rest of the heroes, Obi-Wan's death also changes everything. Leia, already carrying the weight of Alderaan's destruction, now sees the pain in Luke's eyes. Han, too, begins to shift. He doesn't speak much of the old man, but something about the way Luke mourns seems to chip away at Han's cynical shell. The loss makes the mission more urgent. There's no room for retreat now. The Death Star is still out there, and with the plans in their possession, the rebellion has one final chance to strike back. Obi-Wan's duel and self-sacrifice also stand in sharp thematic contrast to the Empire's philosophy. The Empire values control, domination, and fear. Obi-Wan, in surrendering, shows trust in something greater. He knows that Luke must walk his own path, and he chooses to become a part of the Force rather than cling to the physical world. His sacrifice empowers others instead of terrorizing them. It is the antithesis of everything the Empire stands for. From this point forward, Luke begins to evolve. He is no longer just a passenger in the rebellion. Obi-Wan's death ignites a fire in him, a need to carry forward the Jedi legacy, to fight back, to believe in something beyond himself. The voice of Obi-Wan becomes a moral compass, a spiritual presence that will guide Luke through battles to come. The duel and death of Obi-Wan Kenobi are more than just a fight between good and evil. They are a passing of the torch. Obi-Wan represents the old Jedi Order, with its wisdom and failures. Luke is the future, untested, emotional, but full of hope. And in choosing death on his own terms, Obi-Wan teaches Luke his most important lesson yet, that courage is not in how you fight, but in what you're willing to die for. With the Death Star planned safely in the hands of the Rebel Alliance, the fate of the galaxy hinges on what comes next. Hidden in the dense jungles of the fourth moon of Yavin, the Rebel base becomes the focal point of a desperate last stand. The Rebels are outnumbered, outgunned, and aware that the Death Star now pursuing them could appear in orbit at any moment and wipe them out with a single blast. The plans smuggled out of the Death Star by Princess Leia and stored within R2-D2 are analyzed by Rebel technicians. What they discover is shocking. Despite its overwhelming power, the Death Star has a critical weakness, a small thermal exhaust port located near the surface. A precise hit from a proton torpedo could trigger a chain reaction, destroying the entire station. It's a flaw hidden deep within the structure, and only through the careful study of the stolen schematics is it found. But even with this knowledge, the challenge remains immense. The Death Star is massive and heavily defended. The exhaust port is only 2 meters wide. To hit such a small target, a pilot must fly at high speed through a trench lined with turbolasers and TIE fighters. It's a near impossible task, and the Rebels know it. While Leia and the Alliance prepare for the assault, Luke Skywalker volunteers for the mission. Still grieving the loss of Obi-Wan, he throws himself into the fight with renewed purpose. It is here, among the hangars of Yavin IV, that he finds his place not as a farm boy or a tag-along, but as a pilot. He joins Red Squadron under the call sign Red 5, stepping into the role of a soldier for the first time. The rest of the Rebel pilots are a diverse group of skilled fighters, many of whom won't survive the mission. Among them is Wedge Antilles, a capable pilot who becomes one of the rebellion's most reliable assets. Another is Biggs Darklighter, an old friend of Luke's from Tatooine. Their reunion is brief but heartfelt, a small moment of grounding before the chaos of battle. Meanwhile, Han Solo has taken his reward and is preparing to leave. Despite Luke's pleas for him to stay and help, Han insists that he's not in it for the cause. He's got debts to pay, and staying means certain death. It's a moment of painful clarity for Luke, who realizes that not everyone will choose to fight. Still, the mission must go on. As the Death Star approaches Yavin, the rebel pilots launch their attack. The station's countdown begins within minutes. It will be in position to destroy the moon and the entire rebel base. The ensuing battle, known as the Battle of Yavin, becomes one of the most pivotal moments in galactic history. X-Wings and Y-Wings descend upon the Death Star, flying low over its surface and diving into the trench in tight formations. The visuals are stark, rebel ships zipping between the cold mechanical architecture of the station while blaster fire lights up the vacuum. Squadrons are picked off one by relentless waves of TIE fighters, including Vader himself, who joins the battle in his distinctive black TIE Advanced Starfighter. As the rebels attempt trench runs, they face overwhelming resistance. One squadron is wiped out entirely. Another gets close but fails to hit the exhaust port. Hope begins to fade. But Luke, focused and increasingly attuned to the Force, makes his approach. With Biggs and Wedge flanking him, he enters the trench for the final run. One by one, his wingmen fall away. Biggs is killed by Vader's fire, and Wedge is forced to retreat. Luke is alone. As Vader lines up for the kill, Obi-Wan's voice returns, calm and insistent. "Use the Force, Luke." In that moment, Luke switches off his targeting computer. He closes his eyes, lets go of his fear, and reaches out with the Force. It's a leap of faith, the kind that defines a Jedi. Just as Vader prepares to destroy Luke's ship, Han Solo suddenly reappears, blasting Vader's wingmen and sending the Sith Lord spiraling into space. His unexpected return changes everything. With the Force as his guide, Luke fires the torpedoes. They enter the exhaust port perfectly. A moment later, the Death Star explodes in a blinding fireball. The rebel base erupts in celebration. Against all odds, the Death Star has been destroyed. The Empire's ultimate weapon, its symbol of invincibility, has been reduced to wreckage. It's the first true victory for the Rebel Alliance, and a sign that the Empire can be defeated. In the aftermath, Luke emerges as a hero. Han is greeted not with skepticism but with gratitude. Leia's relief is visible, though tempered by the understanding that this war is far from over. The losses are great. Many pilots didn't return, but their sacrifice made the impossible possible. The battle marks the beginning of a legend. Luke is no longer just a young man with a lightsaber. He is the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. Han Solo, once a self-interested rogue, has proven that he does care, that he's willing to fight for something larger than himself. And Leia, the heart of the rebellion, has seen that hope, however fragile, is a weapon stronger than fear. The Battle of Yavin doesn't end the war. The Empire still rules, and the Emperor still lives, but it changes the tide. The galaxy now knows the Death Star was real, and that it could be destroyed. The myth of Imperial invincibility has been shattered, and from that moment on, the rebellion is no longer a desperate movement, it is a real threat. For Luke, the victory is bittersweet. He has saved the rebellion, but lost his mentor, and glimpsed the path ahead. The Force is now a presence in his life, mysterious and powerful. The battle may be won, but his journey as a Jedi is just beginning. Following the destruction of the Death Star, the Rebel Alliance becomes the most wanted enemy of the Galactic Empire. Darth Vader, humiliated by the loss and driven by a new obsession, begins an unrelenting hunt across the galaxy. His focus isn't just the rebellion as a whole, it's a specific pilot, the one who destroyed the Death Star, Luke Skywalker. With the rebels forced into hiding, they relocate their command center to the remote ice planet of Hoth. Covered in snow and battered by constant storms, Hoth is a place no one would willingly live. And that's exactly why the rebels choose it. Deep within a frozen canyon, they carve out Echo Base, creating a new home, even if temporary, amid the hostile environment. But while the rebellion regroups and rebuilds, the Empire is already closing in. Vader dispatches probe droids across countless systems. One of these mechanical scouts lands on Hoth, where it's eventually discovered and destroyed by Han Solo and Chewbacca, but not before it transmits vital data back to the Empire enough to confirm the rebel presence. The moment Vader has been waiting for has arrived. The fleet mobilizes. As the cold closes in outside Echo Base, tensions rise within. Han announces his intention to leave. Deaths still follow him, and the bounty hunters on his trail are growing more aggressive. Leia hides her feelings behind icy deflections, pretending she doesn't care. Luke, meanwhile, is pulled deeper into his training with the Force, guided only by the ghostly voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Their dynamic is shifting. Friendships forged in war are now evolving, tested by uncertainty and unspoken emotions. Then comes the attack. The Empire launches a ground assault, sending towering AT-AT walkers stomping across the tundra. The Battle of Hoth becomes one of the most iconic engagements in Star Wars lore. Massive armored walkers, snow speeders weaving between their legs, trenches filled with blaster fire, and desperate evacuation efforts. The rebels fight valiantly but are outmatched. This isn't a raid, it's a full-scale invasion. Luke leads Rogue Squadron in the skies, managing to take down an AT-AT by wrapping a tow cable around its legs, but the tide turns quickly. The shield generators fall, and Vader personally lands on the surface, determined to capture Luke himself. Realizing the danger, Leia, Han, Chewbacca, and C-3PO flee aboard the Millennium Falcon. Luke, however, is instructed by Obi-Wan's voice to go to the Dagobah system. There, a Jedi Master named Yoda awaits. The defeat on Hoth is a heavy blow. The rebels are scattered. Their new home is lost. But even in retreat, they survive. That alone is a victory in the face of Vader's tightening grip. And yet, the losses are personal. The destruction of Echo Base drives home the reality of the war. The rebellion is not safe anywhere. No corner of the galaxy is far enough from the Empire's reach. Following the destruction of the Death Star, the Rebel Alliance becomes the most wanted enemy of the Galactic Empire. Darth Vader, humiliated by the loss and driven by a new obsession, begins an unrelenting hunt across the galaxy. His focus isn't just the rebellion as a whole, it's a specific pilot, the one who destroyed the Death Star, Luke Skywalker. With the rebels forced into hiding, they relocate their command center to the remote ice planet of Hoth. Covered in snow and battered by constant storms, Hoth is a place no one would willingly live. And that's exactly why the rebels choose it. Deep within a frozen canyon, they carve out Echo Base, creating a new home, even if temporary, amid the hostile environment. But while the rebellion regroups and rebuilds, the Empire is already closing in. Vader dispatches probe droids across countless systems. One of these mechanical scouts lands on Hoth, where it's eventually discovered and destroyed by Han Solo and Chewbacca. But not before it transmits vital data back to the Empire, enough to confirm the rebel presence. The moment Vader has been waiting for has arrived. The fleet mobilizes. As the cold closes in outside Echo Base, tensions rise within. Han announces his intention to leave. Debts still follow him, and the bounty hunters on his trail are growing more aggressive. Leia hides her feelings behind icy deflections, pretending she doesn't care. Luke, meanwhile, is pulled deeper into his training with the Force, guided only by the ghostly voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Their dynamic is shifting. Friendships forged in war are now evolving, tested by uncertainty and unspoken emotions. Then comes the attack. The Empire launches a ground assault, sending towering AT-AT walkers stomping across the tundra. The Battle of Hoth becomes one of the most iconic engagements in Star Wars lore. Massive armored walkers, snow speeders weaving between their legs, trenches filled with blaster fire, and desperate evacuation efforts. The rebels fight valiantly but are outmatched. This isn't a raid, it's a full-scale invasion. Luke leads Rogue Squadron in the skies, managing to take down an AT-AT by wrapping a tow cable around its legs. But the tide turns quickly. The shield generators fall, and Vader personally lands on the surface, determined to capture Luke himself. Realizing the danger, Leia, Han, Chewbacca, and C-3PO flee aboard the Millennium Falcon. Luke, however, is instructed by Obi-Wan's voice to go to the Dagobah system. There, a Jedi Master named Yoda awaits. The defeat on Hoth is a heavy blow. The rebels are scattered. Their new home is lost. But even in retreat, they survive. That alone is a victory in the face of Vader's tightening grip. And yet, the losses are personal. The destruction of Echo Base drives home the reality of the war. The rebellion is not safe anywhere. No corner of the galaxy is far enough from the Empire's reach. The attack on Hoth also represents a shift in the story's tone. The bright victory of the Battle of Yavin fades into the gray of struggle and survival. The rebels no longer feel like the scrappy underdogs punching up, they feel hunted. The stakes are rising, and the war is no longer about singular moments of triumph, but about perseverance through a galaxy where hope is constantly threatened. More importantly, the Battle of Hoth splits the main characters in two directions. Luke embarks on a spiritual journey to discover what it truly means to be a Jedi, while Han, Leia, and the rest are thrust into a cat-and-mouse chase through space, pursued relentlessly by Vader's fleet. From here, the narrative becomes darker, more introspective, and emotionally complex. Hoth is the moment where things stop being simple. It's no longer just good versus evil. It's personal, it's messy, and it's clear. The Empire is not only powerful, it's unrelenting. And Darth Vader will not stop until he has Luke Skywalker in his grasp. After the crushing defeat at the Battle of Hoth, Luke Skywalker embarks on a critical stage of his journey, a solitary pilgrimage to the mysterious and remote planet of Dagobah. Unlike the barren desert of Tatooine or the icy wasteland of Hoth, Dagobah is a dense, swampy world shrouded in thick fog, twisted roots, and bubbling murky waters. It is an inhospitable environment that few would willingly choose, but it is precisely this seclusion that makes it the perfect refuge for Jedi Master Yoda, the last living repository of Jedi wisdom. The arrival on Dagobah marks a turning point in Luke's transformation from a fledgling rebel pilot to a true Jedi Knight. Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice guides him here, urging Luke to seek out Yoda, a legendary figure who has remained hidden since the fall of the Jedi Order. The choice of Dagobah as a training ground is symbolic. It is a place overgrown, untamed, and teeming with the life force of the natural world, a stark contrast to the sterile, mechanical empire Luke fights against. Luke's first encounter with Yoda is deceptively humorous and confusing. Yoda appears as a small, seemingly frail creature, with quirky mannerisms and a playful sense of humor. Luke, accustomed to grand legends and heroic figures, initially dismisses Yoda as insignificant, even foolish. This underestimation reflects Luke's inexperience and impatience, a recurring challenge throughout his training. But Yoda's wisdom soon becomes clear. Beneath the small stature and cryptic speech lies a powerful master of the Force who has lived through the galaxy's darkest days. His years in exile have been spent preserving the knowledge and teachings of the Jedi in the face of extinction. Yoda's presence reminds Luke and the audience that the Jedi Order is more than just lightsabers and battles. It is a philosophy, a way of living in harmony with the Force, requiring discipline, humility, and profound spiritual connection. Yoda's training methods are rigorous and unorthodox. He pushes Luke to overcome both physical and mental barriers, emphasizing that mastery of the Force is as much about self-control and belief as it is about power. Luke's lessons are conducted in the swamp's murky surroundings, forcing him to confront fear and uncertainty in an environment that is disorienting and hostile. Yoda teaches Luke to lift objects many times his size using only the Force, demonstrating that belief and focus can overcome seemingly impossible odds. Yet, Luke's frustration is palpable when he initially fails, revealing his struggle to fully embrace the Jedi way. Central to Luke's training is learning to let go of doubt and fear emotions that the Sith exploit to corrupt Force users. Yoda warns Luke repeatedly that the dark side is seductive and dangerous, promising power but ultimately leading to destruction. The young Jedi must learn to resist anger, hate, and impatience. These teachings underscore the legacy of the Jedi's downfall. Anakin Skywalker was seduced by these emotions, turning into Darth Vader, and thus causing the near extinction of the Order. One of the most pivotal moments on Dagobah comes when Luke enters the dark side cave, a place infused with dark energy and the raw power of the Force. Inside this eerie cavern, Luke confronts a terrifying vision of Darth Vader, the embodiment of his greatest fear, and the symbol of the dark side itself. The vision culminates when Luke seemingly strikes down Vader, only to see his own face beneath the mask, a chilling revelation that he too might fall to darkness if he is not careful. This foreshadows the intense internal battle Luke must fight, reminding him and viewers that the line between hero and villain is perilously thin. Luke's time with Yoda is more than physical training, it is a spiritual trial. The swampy environment mirrors his internal struggle, dense, confusing, and fraught with unseen dangers. Yoda's lessons require patience, humility, and faith. Do or do not. There is no try, he tells Luke, encapsulating the Jedi philosophy of commitment and focus. This mantra pushes Luke to confront his limitations and rise above them, preparing him for the immense challenges ahead. While Luke trains, the galaxy outside continues to spin toward chaos. The Rebel Alliance remains in hiding, fractured and vulnerable after Hoth. Meanwhile, Darth Vader's relentless pursuit of Luke intensifies. Vader is no longer content with hunting the rebellion broadly. He wants Luke specifically, the last hope to complete the Sith's dark vision, by either turning him to the dark side or destroying him. This mounting pressure forces a difficult choice on Luke. His connection to his friends, Leia, Han, and the others, pulls him away from his training. Through the Force, Luke senses that they are in grave danger, captured by Vader's forces. Despite Yoda's warning to remain and complete his training, Luke decides to leave Dagobah early to rescue them. This decision, driven by compassion but also impatience, highlights Luke's ongoing struggle to balance his personal attachments with the discipline required of a Jedi. Yoda and Obi-Wan's Force spirits caution Luke about the consequences of leaving before he is ready. They warn that confronting Vader prematurely, without fully understanding the Force or himself, could lead to failure or worse. This foreshadows the tragic events that will follow on Cloud City, where Luke's confrontation with Vader will reveal devastating truths. Dagobah's role in the original trilogy is multifaceted. It serves as a mystical retreat where the lore of the Jedi Order is explored and deepened. It is a setting for Luke's internal development, emphasizing the spiritual and philosophical dimensions of the Star Wars saga. It is also a place where the audience gains insight into the nature of the Force, the light side's virtues, the dark side's dangers, and the ongoing battle between them. Luke's training on Dagobah underscores key themes of destiny, choice, and sacrifice. The Jedi path is not a simple one of good versus evil. It demands continual self-reflection and courage to resist temptations that lurk within. Luke is positioned not only as a warrior but as a symbol of hope and renewal for the galaxy, tasked with overcoming the failures of the past to forge a new future. The Swamp Planet and Yoda's mentorship also deepen the narrative's emotional resonance. Luke's frustration, doubts, and eventual growth make him a more complex and relatable hero. His journey highlights the loneliness and responsibility that come with being the galaxy's last Jedi, illustrating that the battle against darkness begins within. Dagobah, with its misty swamps and ancient trees, becomes more than a backdrop. It is a crucible that tests Luke's spirit. The lessons learned here echo throughout the trilogy, shaping his decisions and fate. This chapter affirms that true strength comes not from raw power or weapons, but from wisdom, patience, and faith in the Force. As Luke departs Dagobah, the weight of his destiny presses down harder than ever. He is armed with new knowledge and abilities, but also faces greater risks and uncertainties. The galaxy's fate is intertwined with his own, and the choices he makes will determine whether light or darkness prevails. As Luke journeys into deeper training on Dagobah, the rest of the Rebel Alliance faces a perilous crisis of its own. The Empire, relentless in its pursuit of the rebellion, sets a cunning trap aimed at destroying the core of the resistance and capturing the key players, most importantly, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and the Rebel leadership. Following the devastating battle on Hoth, the rebels scatter across the galaxy, but their movements are not hidden from the Empire's far-reaching gaze. Darth Vader, obsessed with finding Luke Skywalker, uses every resource at his disposal, including a network of ruthless bounty hunters. The most notorious of these is Boba Fett, a mysterious and fearsome mercenary who tracks Han Solo for the infamous gangster Jabba the Hutt, to whom Han owes a massive debt. Han Solo's debt to Jabba hangs over him like a shadow, influencing his every decision. Despite the growing cause of the rebellion, Han remains hesitant, focused on self-preservation. His priority is to keep ahead of bounty hunters and collect the money needed to settle his account with Jabba or face deadly consequences. This tension between self-interest and heroism is a core element of his character and sets up critical developments in the trilogy. Meanwhile, Leia and Chewbacca accompany Han aboard the Millennium Falcon, fleeing the Empire's relentless pursuit. Their dynamic deepens during this flight, revealing layers of emotion beneath the surface. Leia's stern exterior begins to soften as she grows closer to Han, while Han's cocky bravado is tempered by genuine care and concern. The ship, which once symbolized Han's independence and detachment, becomes a refuge and a symbol of hope for the group. The Empire's trap is sprung when the Falcon seeks refuge in Cloud City, a floating metropolis run by Han's old friend Lando Calrissian. Lando's initial hospitality masks a deeper conflict. Under immense pressure from the Empire and his own doubts, Lando betrays Han, Leia, and Chewbacca, delivering them into Vader's hands. This betrayal is heartbreaking, emphasizing the fragile alliances in a galaxy ruled by fear and power. Han's capture is a pivotal moment. Vader uses him as bait to lure Luke into a confrontation, setting the stage for the trilogy's darkest and most iconic sequences. Han is frozen in carbonite, a fate worse than death, intended for transport to Jabba the Hutt. The chilling image of Han suspended in translucent ice becomes one of the saga's most enduring symbols, representing sacrifice, loss, and the cost of war. Leia's response to Han's fate reveals her strength and vulnerability. Despite the trauma of betrayal and loss, she remains resolute, vowing to rescue Han and continue the fight. Her leadership is tested as the rebellion faces internal and external threats. Chewbacca's loyalty is unwavering, driving him to mount a daring rescue mission. Meanwhile, the Empire's machinations deepen. Vader prepares for the ultimate confrontation with Luke, using Han's capture to manipulate his son and bring him closer to the dark side. The trap at Cloud City is not just a physical battlefield, it is a psychological and emotional battlefield where destinies will collide. This section highlights the escalating stakes of the original trilogy. The heroes face overwhelming odds, betrayals, and personal sacrifices. The story moves beyond clear-cut battles of good versus evil into complex moral territory. Loyalty is tested, alliances shift, and the cost of war becomes painfully real. Han's fate in carbonite also sets in motion future storylines and character arcs. His imprisonment and subsequent rescue in the next film deepen the bonds between the main characters, reinforcing themes of friendship, redemption, and hope amidst despair. The Empire's trap at Cloud City is a masterstroke of strategy and cruelty. It demonstrates Vader's cunning and the Empire's ruthless efficiency. But it also exposes cracks within the Imperial regime, fear of the Force, uncertainty about the future, and the lengths to which the villains will go to maintain control. Ultimately, this section of the trilogy is about the human cost of the galactic conflict. It's about friends torn apart, sacrifices made, and the enduring will to fight against tyranny. It prepares the audience for the emotional climax that lies ahead and cements the characters' places not just as rebels or soldiers, but as symbols of resilience and hope. The events at Cloud City mark one of the darkest and most pivotal moments in the original Star Wars trilogy. Luke Skywalker arrives on the floating metropolis, driven by a mixture of hope and desperation. His friends have been captured, and he is determined to rescue them. But what awaits him is not just a physical confrontation, but a shattering revelation that will change everything he believes about himself, his family, and his destiny. Luke's arrival at Cloud City is fraught with tension. Guided by the Force and the desperate pleas of his friends, he finds himself walking into a trap set by Darth Vader. The once clear-cut battle between good and evil blurs here into a deeply personal conflict, where past sins and hidden truths come to the surface. The duel begins in the labyrinthine carbon-freezing chamber, a stark, industrial setting that mirrors the cold and mechanical heart of the Empire itself. Luke, still inexperienced and emotionally raw, faces Vader in a lightsaber battle that is as much a test of his resolve as it is a clash of blades. The choreography is brutal and urgent. Luke fights with determination but lacks the full mastery that training on Dagobah was meant to provide. As the fight progresses, Vader's skill and experience become overwhelmingly apparent. He taunts Luke, probing his weaknesses and tempting him to give in to anger and fear, the very emotions that lead to the dark side. Vader's words are venomous yet revealing, planting doubt and confusion. The climax of the duel comes with the iconic moment when Vader reveals the truth that has been long hidden. "I am your father." This revelation shocks Luke and the audience to their core. It turns the story upside down, transforming the narrative from a simple hero's journey into a profound family drama. This revelation is more than just a plot twist. It is a test of Luke's identity and morality. The idea that the monstrous Darth Vader is his father challenges everything Luke has believed. It forces him to confront the possibility that darkness is not just an external enemy but something that runs in his own blood. Luke's response is raw and instinctual. He refuses to accept Vader's claim, and in the heat of emotion, he lashes out. But the duel ends with Luke's near-fatal fall into the abyss below Cloud City, symbolizing the precipice on which his fate now hangs. His escape is miraculous but leaves him broken and questioning. The impact of this moment reverberates throughout the trilogy. Luke must reconcile the legacy of his father with his own values. The journey ahead is not just about fighting the Empire, but about saving his father from the darkness that consumed him. This revelation deepens the saga's themes of redemption, hope, and the complexity of good and evil. Meanwhile, the fate of Han Solo remains uncertain, frozen in carbonite and delivered to Jabba the Hutt's palace. Leia and the others regroup, vowing to rescue him, their bonds stronger than ever despite the trials they have faced. The duel on Cloud City is a masterclass in storytelling, combining action, emotion, and mythology. It forces characters and audience alike to question assumptions and face uncomfortable truths. Luke's journey becomes more complex and mature, moving beyond youthful idealism toward a deeper understanding of sacrifice and responsibility. This moment cements Darth Vader's role not just as a villain, but as a tragic figure, once a hero, now fallen, and perhaps redeemable. It sets the stage for the final act of the trilogy, where past sins will be confronted and destinies fulfilled. The harrowing events on Cloud City leave the rebel heroes fractured but unbroken. Han Solo remains imprisoned in the carbonite block, a silent testament to the Empire's cruelty and the cost of defiance. But his friends refuse to abandon him. The rescue mission that follows is not just an attempt to save one man, it is a powerful act of loyalty, courage, and resistance that reignites the spark of hope within the rebellion. Leia Organa takes charge, demonstrating her strength as both a leader and a deeply caring friend. Though she bears the weight of personal loss and uncertainty, her determination to free Han drives the group forward. Chewbacca, fiercely loyal and driven by friendship, becomes a critical force in the plan's success. Lando Calrissian, haunted by his betrayal at Cloud City, seeks redemption by aiding the rescue, putting himself at great personal risk. The mission unfolds on the desert world of Tatooine, in the dark and dangerous palace of Jabba the Hutt. The palace is a labyrinth of shadows, inhabited by smugglers, mercenaries, and criminals. It is a stark contrast to the vastness of space and the open battlefields of earlier conflicts, a claustrophobic, threatening environment that tests the heroes in new ways. The rescue begins with infiltration and deception. Leia poses as a bounty hunter, attempting to negotiate for Han's release. The tension is palpable as she navigates the treacherous palace, aware that any misstep could mean death. The stakes are raised when Jabba refuses to release Han, revealing the full extent of the dangers the heroes face. The situation escalates into an epic battle in Jabba's throne room. This confrontation combines action, humor, and high stakes, showcasing the growth of the characters and their unbreakable bonds. Leia's bravery shines as she breaks free from captivity, turning the tables on Jabba himself. Luke arrives as a fully trained Jedi Knight, his presence a beacon of hope and power. His lightsaber cuts through Jabba's henchmen, signaling that the Jedi have returned. The battle is intense and chaotic, with blaster fire, hand-to-hand combat, and the intervention of allies old and new. Chewbacca's raw strength and cunning play a crucial role, as do the loyalty and bravery of Lando and the droids. Ultimately, Jabba the Hutt meets his end, crushed by the very chains he used to imprison Leia. Han Solo's release is a triumphant moment, but it also marks the beginning of a new chapter. The rescue renews the group's resolve to fight the Empire with even greater determination. They are no longer just a ragtag band of rebels, they are a symbol of hope for the galaxy's oppressed. This mission also deepens the emotional connections between the characters. The romance between Leia and Han becomes more evident, adding layers of warmth and humanity amidst the conflict. Luke's evolution into a Jedi Knight is solidified, and his leadership within the group is unquestioned. The rescue mission highlights the rebellion's resourcefulness and unity in the face of overwhelming odds. Despite betrayals, losses, and danger, their commitment to one another and their cause remains unshaken. It serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest times, hope and friendship can light the way forward. Moreover, this section of the trilogy emphasizes the stakes of the galactic struggle. The Empire's reach extends everywhere, even to the criminal underworld, yet the hero's courage and determination threaten to undo its grip. The rescue mission at Jabba's palace is a microcosm of the larger war, a fight for freedom, justice, and the belief that good can prevail. As the heroes regroup and prepare for the final battles ahead, the rescue mission stands as a testament to the strength of their bonds and their unyielding spirit. The fight against tyranny is far from over, but with each victory, the galaxy inches closer to liberation. The original trilogy of Star Wars reaches a pivotal moment after the daring rescue of Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt's clutches. The heroes of the Rebel Alliance, scarred but not defeated, face a galaxy teetering on the edge of darkness. Their past encounters, especially those on the floating gas mining colony of Bespin, have left deep emotional and psychological imprints. Now, as the forces of rebellion gather strength to mount their most dangerous operation yet, the lessons of betrayal, loss, and hope from Bespin weigh heavily on their mind. This section explores how the Rebel Alliance prepares for the ultimate confrontation with the Galactic Empire, and how the characters evolve amidst the looming threat of the second Death Star. The defeat on Hoth and the betrayal at Bespin revealed the ruthless efficiency and reach of the Empire. The Empire's latest weapon, a second Death Star, more powerful and imposing than the first, is nearing completion under the direct oversight of Emperor Palpatine himself. This new battle station is not just a military installation but a symbol of the Empire's will to crush all resistance and maintain absolute control over the galaxy. The stakes for the rebellion could not be higher. Failure means the complete annihilation of their cause. Amidst this precarious situation, Luke Skywalker emerges as a beacon of hope and potential salvation. His training on Dagobah has matured him from a naive farm boy into a Jedi Knight with growing mastery over the Force. However, the revelations on Bespin that Darth Vader is his father have burdened him with an emotional weight that transcends any battle he has fought. Luke understands that his final confrontation with Vader is inevitable, but it is no longer a simple duel of good versus evil. It is a battle fraught with personal stakes, a battle for his father's soul, and by extension, the future of the Force itself. Luke's evolution into a Jedi Knight is marked by his deepening awareness of the complexities of the Force. He recognizes that defeating Vader is not just a matter of physical combat, but requires confronting the darkness within himself and finding a way to resist the temptations of the dark side. His journey is as much spiritual as it is tactical. His faith in redemption and balance is tested as he prepares for the decisive encounter, fully aware that the line between heroism and darkness is perilously thin. Meanwhile, the political and military leadership of the Rebel Alliance is under immense pressure. Princess Leia Organa has matured into a formidable leader. She balances the emotional toll of her relationship with Han Solo with the responsibility of guiding the rebel forces. Leia's leadership style combines compassion with steely determination, qualities that inspire loyalty and unity within the ranks. The rescue mission that reunited her with Han only strengthened their bond, making their shared fight against the Empire even more personal and urgent. Han Solo himself embodies the transformation that many characters undergo throughout the trilogy. From a self-interested smuggler driven by debt and survival instincts, Han has grown into a committed leader and symbol of hope. His experience in Jabba's palace and subsequent escape has forged stronger ties with the rebellion, and he now embraces a cause larger than himself. His renewed commitment energizes the rebel forces, offering a blend of tactical expertise and courageous leadership. The fractured alliances and tenuous relationships within the Rebel Alliance begin to heal and strengthen. Lando Calrissian, once a betrayer at Bespin, seeks redemption and reaffirms his loyalty to the cause. His inside knowledge of Imperial strategies and access to critical systems within the galaxy prove invaluable in the planning stages of the final assault. Lando's redemption arc highlights the trilogy's recurring theme that even those who falter can find a path back to honor and heroism. The rebellion's preparations for the final battle are marked by a blend of hope and desperation. Intelligence gathered through covert operations reveals the size and power of the second Death Star, prompting a coordinated strike plan that involves multiple factions and daring tactics. The rebel commanders understand the risks. They face a weapon capable of destroying entire planets and fleets in an instant. Their only hope lies in unity, courage, and the element of surprise. The memory of Bespin lingers as a cautionary tale. The betrayal and loss there serve as painful reminders of the dangers of complacency and the costs of war. Trust is fragile, and the Empire's grip on the galaxy is far-reaching. Yet, the rebels are resolute. The bonds formed through shared suffering and sacrifice give them strength. Every pilot, soldier, and leader is aware that this could be their last stand. Throughout this period, Luke's connection to his friends in the rebellion deepens his resolve. His growing mastery of the Force empowers him, but it is his loyalty and compassion that truly define his character. The weight of his father's legacy and the hope for redemption drive him forward, even as he prepares to face unimaginable challenges. The stage is set for the climactic battle that will determine the galaxy's fate. The return to Bespin in memory is symbolic, a moment to reflect on past mistakes and lessons learned, and to steel themselves for the challenges ahead. It is a time of preparation, reflection, and resolve. This section of the original trilogy encapsulates the emotional and strategic buildup to the final confrontation. It emphasizes that victory will not come solely from firepower or tactics, but from hope, unity, and the courage to face darkness head-on. The rebellion's journey from scattered fugitives to a coordinated force poised to challenge the Empire's might reflects the broader themes of resilience and redemption woven throughout the saga. As the rebel forces mobilize and Luke prepares for his fateful encounter with Vader and the Emperor, the galaxy holds its breath. The conflict has evolved from a battle of armies to a profound struggle for the soul of the galaxy. The choices made in the coming moments will shape the future of the Force, the fate of the Empire, and the legacy of the Jedi. The return to Bespin in spirit reminds viewers that the past informs the future, that pain, betrayal, and loss are part of the journey, but so too are hope, courage, and the possibility of redemption. The heroes stand on the precipice of destiny, ready to fight not only for survival, but for a new beginning. the galaxy's fate reaches a boiling point as the Rebel Alliance prepares to launch an all-out assault on the Empire's ultimate weapon, the second Death Star. Larger, deadlier, and more imposing than the first, this new battle station looms ominously over the forest moon of Endor, protected by a massive shield generator. Its completion threatens to extinguish the last flames of rebellion and enforce the Empire's iron rule forever. The Rebel strategy hinges on destroying this shield generator to disable the Death Star's defenses, allowing their fleet to target the station itself. This mission is fraught with peril. Rebel strike teams infiltrate the forested moon, encountering fierce resistance from Imperial forces and the native Ewoks, initially allies of neither side, who ultimately become crucial in the battle's outcome. Simultaneously, Luke Skywalker confronts his destiny aboard the Death Star. He voluntarily surrenders to Imperial forces, knowing that this encounter with Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine is unavoidable. Luke's purpose is not just to fight, but to reach the man beneath the mask, his father, and save him from the dark side's grasp. In the throne room of the Death Star, a tense psychological and physical battle unfolds. Emperor Palpatine, the Dark Master behind the Empire's cruelty, seeks to turn Luke's anger into hatred, tempting him toward the dark side. The Emperor's manipulations highlight the seductive power of evil and the constant threat it poses even to the strongest wills. Luke's internal struggle mirrors the broader conflict. Can hope and love overcome darkness and despair? As the duel with Vader rages, Luke refuses to give in to rage, demonstrating a profound evolution from the impulsive youth who once wielded a lightsaber in anger. His refusal to become an agent of hatred shocks both Vader and the Emperor. In a moment of crisis, Vader is faced with a choice that will define his legacy. Seeing his son suffering and the Emperor's cruelty, he turns against his master, sacrificing himself to save Luke and destroy the Sith Lord. This act of redemption fulfills the prophecy of the Chosen One, bringing balance to the Force by ending the Sith's reign. Outside, the Rebel forces, aided unexpectedly by the Ewoks, fight desperately to destroy the shield generator and provide the fleet a chance to strike the Death Star's core. The battle is chaotic and intense, filled with heroism, sacrifice, and moments of triumph. The destruction of the shield sets the stage for the Rebel fleet's final assault. The Death Star explodes in a spectacular climax, signaling a decisive victory for the rebellion. The Emperor is dead, Vader redeemed, and the Empire's grip on the galaxy shattered. Yet, the cost has been high. Losses on both sides remind viewers that freedom is won through sacrifice. The conclusion of this epic battle marks the end of an era. Luke Skywalker's journey from a farm boy on Tatooine to a Jedi Knight who brought his father back to the light embodies the trilogy's core themes of hope, redemption, and the enduring struggle between good and evil. The victory on Endor does not erase the scars of war, but it offers a new beginning for the galaxy. The Rebel Alliance's triumph inspires hope that peace and justice can prevail, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. This final section of the original trilogy encapsulates the emotional and narrative climax, where personal and galactic destinies converge. It delivers closure to the arcs of central characters while leaving room for the ongoing story of the Star Wars universe. The original Star Wars trilogy, spanning A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, is more than a groundbreaking cinematic experience. It's the foundation of a sprawling, intricate universe that has shaped popular culture for decades. Its lore not only tells the story of heroes and villains, but establishes a mythology rich with themes of hope, redemption, family, and the eternal struggle between light and dark. At its core, the original trilogy introduced audiences to the Force, a mystical energy binding the galaxy together, and the Jedi, guardians of peace and justice who wield it. Luke Skywalker's journey from humble farm boy to legendary Jedi Knight became a timeless hero's arc, inspiring generations. His struggle against Darth Vader and the oppressive Galactic Empire became an allegory of resistance against tyranny and the power of personal choice. The trilogy also gave depth to its villains, Darth Vader is no mere antagonist but a tragic figure torn between his past as Anakin Skywalker and his present as a Sith Lord. His redemption arc is a powerful testament to the possibility of forgiveness and change, elevating the saga beyond simple good versus evil. The political and social backdrop, the rise and fall of the Empire, the resilience of the Rebel Alliance adds layers of complexity and realism to the galaxy far, far away. The original trilogy created a living world filled with diverse planets, cultures, and characters, setting a standard for world building that influences storytelling to this day. Moreover, its impact reaches beyond narrative. The films revolutionized special effects, sound design, and film scoring, with John Williams' iconic music becoming inseparable from the Star Wars experience. The characters and symbols, lightsabers, stormtroopers, the Millennium Falcon, are etched into the collective imagination. The lore of the original trilogy continues to expand through novels, comics, games, and newer films, but it always returns to the foundational stories told in those first three movies. It established the mythic structure and emotional heart that guide all Star Wars storytelling. In sum, the original trilogy's legacy is its enduring ability to connect with audiences on multiple levels: epic adventure, personal growth, and philosophical reflection. It laid the groundwork for a franchise that explores complex themes through the lens of space fantasy, inviting fans to ponder the nature of destiny, the cost of war, and the hope for redemption. This rich tapestry of lore not only entertains but invites us to reflect on our own struggles, making the story of the original trilogy timeless and universal. Its impact is immeasurable, shaping not just a franchise, but an entire generation's understanding of storytelling, heroism, and the fight between light and darkness.